Hi everybody, it's Mike with another Fantasy Grounds Unity tutorial for the PFRPG rule set. In this case, this is another basic video. So even though I mentioned that we're using the Pathfinder role-playing games rule set here, really everything I show you is going to apply to virtually any game system rule set that you might be using. So here we are back logged in as Diggy. This is a player view, not a DM view, so everything you're seeing here is exactly what a player would see. Let's close this image down, close the character sheet down, and I'll remind you that if I double-click my picture in the top left and then double-click my token, it'll take me to the image my token is on. Now, I don't like the shape of this image. It's taken up way too much of my screen. So let's talk about what we can do about that. The traditional sort of things that you would expect are available here. So if I put my mouse down near the corner, I can drag and resize this. Same thing on the sides and so on like that. But I always find that a little difficult to get my mouse exactly where I want it. A much quicker method of doing this, Fantasy Grounds has the option of just holding down the control button, click inside the image, and you can resize it by dragging. So I find that to be a lot easier. Let's make it a rectangle that only takes up about this much of my screen. There's this button up here at the top of the image control that says zoom to fit. I can hit it anytime I want to see the entire map. I can scroll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I can hold the middle mouse button and drag to move things left to right within the pane. This button down here in the bottom right does the same thing, but I find it incredibly hard to use. Maybe you will love it, but if you click that and drag, you'll get to move things around, but it is really, really unintuitive to me, so I just use the middle mouse button to put the image where I want it. So typically I play pretty zoomed in like this, and then I just drag side to side when I need to go somewhere. And again, Fantasy Grounds remembers this stuff. So if we close this window, remember the shape of it here. If we close this image and then I double click my token again, you see it opens back up in the exact same shape. It doesn't remember your zoom and position and that sort of thing, but that's easy enough to fix. What you want is your image not to cover up important stuff that you would rather be able to see. And you don't have to resize your image every single time it opens. Since we use the same battle map, sometimes multiple games in a row, because my fights take so long, it's a good idea to get this situated the way you like it. Now, when you do encounter a new image, like when I spin out a new map for a new combat, then you'll have to resize it as well. It doesn't apply to every image in the system, just individual ones. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about tokens some. So, as with a lot of things in these types of softwares, the Shift, the Control, and the Alt button all have different functions when it comes to tokens. So I'm going to click on Ziggy. I know I've clicked on him because of the green border, matches my green dice down here. And if I hold down Shift and then spin my mouse wheel, it rotates Ziggy's token. This is kind of handy if you want to remind yourself that somebody's unconscious or prone or dead or something like that. Even though there'll be status icons that indicate that stuff, sometimes a quick visual, if somebody's upside down, they're on the ground unconscious, maybe is a handy thing at a glance, especially if we have a lot of tokens on the battle map. If you hold down the control button and spin that mouse wheel, you can change the size of the token. Okay, handy if you get a large person cast on you or whatever. And then lastly, thanks to a mod that I have attached to this particular game, if we hold down Alt and spin the wheel, it adds this little number up at the top that's meant to show how high off the ground we are. Fantasy Grounds doesn't have this built in, but it is added through this extension. It really helps with Pathfinder, which is a very three-dimensional game. People fly a lot. The ability is sort of prevalent, and it shows up pretty early level-wise. So you end up with a lot of three-dimensional combats. So, for instance, if I target San here next to me, and we'll talk about targeting in just a minute, you see that she's 5 feet away. But if I hold down the Alt key and fly 50 feet up in the air, now she's 55 feet away. That is super handy for figuring out whether someone that's flying is in range of your spell or your missile weapon or whatever. or if you're the one flying, if they're in range of view down there on the ground. It also applies flying target to flying target. So, you know, if you're having an Avengers battle in the sky, it does all the math for you, which is awesome. Let's see what else. Oh, last video we talked about pointers. So if you right click out here on the map and you go into pointers, I showed you guys how to draw a cone. Circles and squares and arrows work pretty much the same way. If you draw a circle, which is what I just selected, you just click your left mouse button and drag and it'll make the circle. With any of these little drawings, any of these area drawings, go to the place you started drawing and you'll find a little white square that, if you click and hold it, allows you to move the image around. Then if you go to the measurement number, so this 10 feet here, click and drag it, you can resize. All right, so I can put this circle wherever I need it for measurement. You can actually have multiple pointers out here at once. So if I go back into pointers and I say draw square, I can now put a square here, and the same thing applies. I can move it around and so on. When you want to get rid of these, right click, go to pointers and say remove pointers. The last one I didn't show you is the draw arrow. Let's say you want to know the distance between these two gravestones, or this gravestone and this bench, or whatever it is, this statue and this bench. We see that they are 25 feet apart. Okay, and same controls as before. If I want to move the starting point, I just grab it and put it where I need it. If I want to change the end point, I grab it, move it around, and I can change the angle and the length. When I'm done, right click, go to pointers, and hit the trash can. All right, that's pointers for you. And again, you notice those colors match my dice, so you know who's putting what out there. Let's talk a little bit about targeting. This always seems to be difficult. Make sure you've got yourself selected. I know that I do because of the green circle. And then you just hold down Control and click whoever you want to become your target. So I just clicked Son and I clicked the skeleton. And if I look in the combat tracker, it says target, skeleton, and Son. So I instantly know I've got them targeted. The game automatically tells me their distance too. So if I find that, oh, whatever effect I was about to cast, the skeleton's not in range of, I can just Control click him again. And now my only target is Son. All right, let's take those away. An easier way to do this, especially if you need to target a lot of people at once for like a fireball or a bless spell or something like that. Let's say Diggy's about to cast a fireball. He can go up here to the top and click Target Enemy Units, and boom, it automatically targets all the guys that are flagged as hostile in the combat tracker. So now we've targeted the skeleton, targeted the zombie lord, and if I look at Ziggy's line, I see that his targets are the skeleton and the zombie lord. If I need to turn one of them off, Control click the zombie lord, and now I've just got the skeleton targeted. You've got this button up here that says clear targets. So as long as you've got yourself selected, you hit clear targets, and now you have no targets anymore. Same thing applies. You've got a target friendly units button. So we click it and we see that it targeted Son and Adeline. It doesn't care how far away anything is. It'll target every token on the map. So even though Adeline is way down here in the corner, 60 feet away, it did target her. Let's say I was going to cast a bless spell. I check the range on it. I see that it's 50 feet. Adeline's too far away, so I'm going to Control click Adeline, and now it'll just be me and Son in the area. That's an important note there. When I clicked target all friendly units, it targeted me as well because I've got a friendly skull here. So all the green skulls, all the friendlies got targeted in that case. And then I can say clear targets again there. The last thing I'm going to show in this video are these effects. So if you look at Son, I'm not playing Son, I'm playing Diggy, but I can see that Son's got some effects going on her. She's got a light spell and a bark skin spell. Those show up in the combat tracker, but they also show up here on the map in the form of these little icons on her token. And if I mouse over them, I can see that what they really represent. Those could be positive or negative things, but if I'm aware of them, I see them there. You'll notice if you look at the bad guys, the only thing I'm really seeing about them is some vague information about their health. I don't even get little health bars like I do on these tokens. Those are settings. that are controlled by the dungeon master. He gets to decide how much information you see on individual tokens. I've decided you get a good bit of information about your friends, but you get very little information about the enemy. And you don't see any little icons for effects on these guys. They actually do have things going on, but because you're unaware of them, the player view doesn't show them to you. If I was to hop over here and show you the DM view real quick, we look at that skeleton and that zombie lord, and you'll see in the combat tracker here, it shows that they have effects, some immunities, some damage resistance, and if I mouse over, I see all that detail. They actually have quite a bit going on, but back on the player view, none of that is visible. And we'll talk a little bit more in the next video about effects and how they interact with spell casting and with saving throws and that sort of thing. But I think for now, that is enough information for you guys to try to absorb. I hope this was helpful, and there will be more videos coming soon. Thanks a lot.